In the previous programs, you have learned the value of understanding how students are internally motivated by their basic needs. In this video, John will talk about what happens when teachers try to use external control techniques on internally motivated students. As you might expect, the results are not good. No one wants to be controlled by someone else. As you will learn, a coercive approach to classroom management not only damages teacher-student relations, it can also result in anger, resentment, and can even prevent learning from taking place. And now, John Erwin.
Okay, let's move ahead. Here are some of the problems with external motivation. They don't necessarily work, we said that. When they do, they're generally short-term, we said that. They can actually prevent learning from taking place when the brain is stressed out, and some of those external motivators are pretty stressful, especially the second column. The brain is stressed, and when the brain feels stressed, it can't think, it can't learn. You know, the activity in the brain goes from the cerebral cortex, where the thinking goes on, goes back to the survival brain. That's where the activity happens, and then you're in the fight or flight response. Put a kid in a fight or flight response. What are you going to get? Shutting down, acting out. So some of these things are pretty stressful. Nagging, yelling, threatening, you know, those are pretty threatful. Withholding affection, that can be stressful too. Even rewards can be stressful. If your kids are all working quietly at their desks, let's bask in that moment. Anyway, the kids are working, they're all engaged quietly at their desks, and you're going around the classroom going, oh, nice job, here's a sticker. Oh, good job, here's a sticker. Now the kid who's struggling with this material, what's going on in his head? I want a sticker. I might not get a sticker. If I don't get a sticker, I'm going to look stupid. Sticker, 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 sticker. So they can't think about their work because they can't relax and think about their work because they're so focused on the sticker that they stress out and they can't learn. Okay. And finally, rewards, according to Alfie Kohn. You know Alfie Kohn? Rewards kill off the interest in the thing we're trying to get them to do. I heard a 7th grade parent came to my classroom one time for a parent-teacher conference, and she had the kid with her, because I insisted that children come to the parent-teacher conference with their parents, so we didn't talk about them behind their back. They could be there to talk and sometimes lead the parent-teacher conference. But anyway, as she's walking out of the classroom with the kid, I'm sure she was doing this to try to show that she was really supportive of English and reading and that kind of stuff. She says to her 7th grade son, honey, when we go home tonight, if you read for half an hour, you can watch TV for an hour. I went, ugh. Now she had the best of intentions. She's trying to teach the kid to read, but she's using a reward to get him to read. And what if you say, if you do this, then you get that. If you read for half an hour, you get TV for an hour, which is better in the kid's mind? What's the message? TV good, reading bad. You got to give me something to get me to do this horrible task of reading. Got to do this so I can get that. It just sends the message that the that is better than the this. Rather than just saying to the kid, and she could have said this to her child, honey, when we go home, you know, that new Harry Potter book is out. He would have been, where? And he would have been reading for you know, as long as it took to read the book. But because we're so immersed in a world of external control, we've been using external control on each other since the dawn of time. Caveman hit woman over head, drag her to cave, you know. That's external control. But we've been using that on each other as individuals, as cultures, as nations since the dawn of time. Now, the worst problem with external motivation is, what does it do to the relationship? If you're constantly nagging and threatening and cajoling and, you know, threatening and punishing and so forth, it's going to destroy, it wears away and eventually destroys the relationship. I'm not saying never use external control. I have a 2-year-old daughter. I have a 7-year-old son. I wouldn't say get rid of it. No, 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 no. And you can't throw it out until you have something to replace it with. But times to use external control went to ensure safety. You don't say to 2 kids who are about to beat each other up, oh guys, let's go build our relationship. No, you push them apart if they're going to, you know, come to fists. You move them physically apart. If a kid is walking out into the road, you don't say, honey, would you like to continue to meet your need for survival? Thump, thump. Oops, too late. You grab them and you yank them out of the road. So there are times to use it to ensure safety. When mere compliance is all you want, and sometimes that's all you want. You just want them to sit down and be quiet. And sometimes you just need to resort to that, or I will, impose some kind of consequence. Do this or I'll impose a consequence. Sometimes you just need to do that. Another time I can think of wanting compliance was when I left the classroom after 12 years. I had a ton of stuff in my room, and I had to go down 3 flights of stairs and put it in my truck. Okay, so I could go out in the hallway and try to find a couple boys who are intrinsically motivated to help me. Hi guys, a couple of guys. How would you like to feel that joy that accompanies altruism? Huh? I'd say, hey, you guys help me move these boxes down to my car, I'll buy you a Coke and a pizza. Okay. So, all I cared about was compliance. I wasn't hoping for some long-term learning or relationship to have, and I just wanted them to comply right then. And then for low-level tedious tasks, I know that most of you in your classrooms, most of the time, have engaging activities and engaging learning, things that kids can understand that is necessary and important for them, and you probably teach in engaging ways. But sometimes there's some stuff on the state curriculi that are not all that exciting, and they just have to know it. And so you could say, look, I know this isn't all that much fun, but we really need to know our multiplication tables or whatever. Tell you what, let's do this drill, and then afterwards we'll play Do You Know Your Neighbors? They go, oh, okay. It gives them some light at the end of the tunnel. So I don't say never. Like I said, I have children of my own. Sometimes if you do this, you get that. And that's all there is to it. But it's kind of like Covey's idea of the emotional bank account. If you spend most of your time appealing to intrinsic motivation, times when you have to go to the extrinsic motivation, take a little bit of a withdrawal out of the emotional bank account, but they don't bankrupt it. So it's a balancing act. My thing isn't always use intrinsic motivation, never use extrinsic motivation. That would be chaos. Schools have to have, society has to have rules and has to have consequences for breaking the rules. So if you're going to move from extrinsic to intrinsic motivation, first of all, either don't start using extrinsic stuff. Don't start with the bribes and the charts and the greens and the yellows and the reds and all that stuff. Just start by having some good procedures built in and appealing to intrinsic motivation. If you're already using them, move gradually away and do it with discussion. I used to say to the kids, they'd go, where's my sticker? These were seniors, I'd get an A on the paper. Where's my sticker? I'd say, you really want stickers? Yeah, I really like the sticker. I went out and bought a bunch of stickers at Staples. I put them on the back shelf. I said, look, if you guys really want a sticker, give yourself a sticker. There you go. But I don't go around giving you stickers because this is stuff that you're just kind of expected to do in life. And I'll tell them, when I take my garbage out on Thursday nights and set it out on the street, there isn't some guy standing there with a sticker. Good job, you took out the garbage, woohoo! Or when I pay my taxes on time, I don't get a, hey, whoopee, let's have a pizza party. I'm just expected to do that stuff. But discuss why. We're doing this for the right reasons, so that you can be a better person, you can learn more, you can have more power in your life. All right, now, okay. Everybody, please stand up. The brain needs oxygen. So I'd like you to please take a deep breath in and raise your arms over your head and breathe out. This time breathe in again and expel all the dead air from your lungs. Get rid of it all. Breathe in again. Feels good. Now, without hurting anybody, please make a big infinity sign in front of yourself, or a figure 8 on its side. Make sure you cross your center line, brain gym, and then with the left hand, do the same thing. Now pat yourself on the left shoulder with your right hand, and your right shoulder with your left hand, with your left heel with your right hand, right heel with your left hand, left heel with your right hand, right heel with your left hand. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Okay, take a deep breath again, and have a seat. Your brain, theoretically, is awake. Theoretically. All right. This stuff here comes from, not Glasser, but from Edward Deci and Richard Ryan. These guys are the gurus on motivation in the scholarly academic world of academia. Deci and Ryan, if you look at anything that Alfie Kohn has written, I was an English teacher, that he done writ. Anything that Alfie Kohn has written, anything Eric Jensen has written, anybody that's written about motivation, look in the references section, you'll see Deci and Ryan, Deci and Ryan, Deci and Ryan. They talk about how motivation is on a continuum, and this, I think, fits very nicely. There's, on one end of this continuum, a motivation, no motivation. On the other end, intrinsic motivation, inspired motivation. I just can't wait to do it. We're all on this continuum all the time. Depending on what we're asked to do, we're somewhere, we may move on the continuum. When it comes to paying taxes, I'm down here. When it comes to writing, I'm up here. But different times during the day, I'm at a different place on the motivational continuum, and so are our students, and so are all of us. They've taken this continuum, Deci and Ryan broke it down into 6 components, 6 sections. They gave them really academic, scholarly names that I can't even remember. So I changed the names to be more, I don't know, teacher-friendly or person-friendly. On this end, the withdrawn or antagonistic part of the motivation continuum is what's going on in the student's mind or the person's mind is what you're asking me to do, or what I have, what I'm being told to do right now, is not something I value in any way. I don't value this. I'm not good at it. Most of us are don't like to do things that we're not good at. We love to do things we're good at, So I can't do it. I'm not good at it, and therefore I ain't doing it, and you can't make me. Do you have a few of those kids in school? Small percentage, usually 1 to 3% of the population, so a very small percentage. Then you've got they call it the antagonistic or withdrawn, because that kid is stressed, and that's where the fight or flight response is. The next kid is the sullen student. I will do the bare minimum, but I'm not going to do a bit more. You have a few of those kids in school? A few more of those. I had one of these students, one that comes to mind was Jason, and this is why I could never have a child named Jason. When you're a teacher, you're so limited to the number of names you can give your children. So sorry, I can't have one of those. Anyway, Jason wrote a pretty decent paper, and I was home on a Saturday morning grading essays, and I got to Jason's paper, and I was reading it, and it was pretty good. He had a pretty good introduction. He had topic sentences with concrete supporting details and had a few quotes in there and stuff. And I'm like, this is pretty good. I get to the end of the second page, and there wasn't any more. I'm like, wonder where the rest of it is. So I looked through my pile, wasn't there. Go to school on Monday, wasn't on my desk. So I wait for Jason to come in. I said, Jason, where's the rest of your paper? He goes, that's it. I said, nah, this can't be it, because you ended right in the middle of a sentence. He goes, you said 400 words. The urge to kill, Isn't that interesting, Jason? And you think you should get full credit? Yeah, you said 400 words. It's like, finish the sentence. Anyway, he did the absolute minimum. I counted the words. There were 400, and he not one more, not even a the. So anyway, that's the sullen kid, and that some of those kids, they just, what do I have to do to get a 65? Okay, the compliant. What's the passing grade in your schools? 70. Oh, yes. Okay, the compliant says, now they're just a little bit more intrinsically oriented than the sullen. They say, I'll comply, I'm doing it to avoid the shame or get approval. So the sullen is doing it to avoid physical pain or some real discomfort or get some kind of reward. The reward here is emotional and the punishment is emotional, so it's a little bit more intrinsic. I'll comply. Now, from dutiful on up, these are the kids that we have, it's a joy to have in class. I work the enthused. Oh, I'm sorry, the dutiful. I'll do it. I know it's important. I value the goal. Now, at least they give lip service to I know I need to do well in school so I can get a good job. I have to learn to do math so I can, balance my checkbook. They say that kind of stuff. Now, it may not be really inside of them. They may not really feel it, but at least they say it, and they do their homework, and they get B's and C's, and that's pretty good, unless they're just gifted and then they get A's. I value the goal. So, okay, that's good. And then we have quite a few of those kids in school, the dutiful. Then you've got the enthused. I will work hard at it because it'll help me gain something else that I really want. See how it's not totally intrinsic yet? It's still something outside of them that they're trying to get. For example, I'll work hard in school and get a good GPA in high school so I can go to Cornell. Now, Cornell may not be it either. I'll work hard in Cornell and I'll get that really good grade from an Ivy League school so I can make a lot of money. It's the money that they're really after. And even that's external. So that's kind of enthused. It's a little bit more, still extrinsic. But again, those are a joy to have in class. I'll work really hard for you. At least they're working hard. It's the guitar player who says, you know, I don't really care about music that much, but I hear guitar players get all the girls. You know, so again, it's something outside of themselves. The inspired, and we have a few of these kids. I will do my absolute best at it just because I love it. I know some of you have had students who have asked for more math homework because they like it. They do. I want to do some more math. I really enjoyed this assignment. Could you give me some more? There are not a lot of them out there, but there are some. I had a student come up to me and she loved grammar. I didn't do a lot of teaching of grammar because the research on teaching grammar alone is not good, but I had to teach them some of the parts of speech and so forth so we could talk about sentences and writing and that kind of stuff, complete sentences. So I remember this one girl, she loved to diagram sentences. I never did diagramming, but she saw it in the book. Could I do some of this? I said, sure, go ahead. Will you give me credit for it? No. But she took the book home and diagrammed all these sentences. Are these right? Yeah, they're right. That's really cool that you can do that. It's not going to get you anything in life, but it's really fun to do. She just liked manipulating language. So great. Good for you. I had an inspired student, and I love this story. Joe Evans came from one of those places I told you about that didn't have floors. They had dirt floors, and the house he lived in looked like a concrete igloo. His parents were like hippie types, and they back in the 70s they had a commune, and they had this concrete igloo that never got finished. And Joe came from abject poverty. Joe was just a nice kid. His only goal, his goal in life, his dream in life was to become a school custodian, which was great. And he would have been the first kid in his family for probably 3 or 4 generations to actually graduate from high school and get a job. So that's a great goal for him. So he didn't really need to read and read Shakespeare and understand Shakespeare very much, but he was always engaged. When we read Shakespeare, I had him in 7th grade, 8th grade, and in 12th grade. And he always dug Shakespeare. In 7th and 8th grade, we just read some of the sonnets and that kind of stuff. But when we read Hamlet, he was like totally engaged. When I have class conversations, Joe was always had his hand up and he had insightful things to say. And he came up to me after the Hamlet unit and he said, Mr. Erwin, we read those sonnets in 7th and 8th grade, and in 9th grade we read Romeo and Juliet, in 10th grade we did Macbeth, and Julius Caesar, in 11th grade it was Macbeth, and this year we read Hamlet. He says, I know Shakespeare wrote some other stuff, right? I said, yeah, a few other things. And he says, could you give me some? And being my skeptical teacher self, I said, why? And he said, I really liked it. I said, well, what do you like about it, Joe? And he goes, I like the way they talked. I said, so you like the Elizabethan language? He goes, yeah. I said, cool. So I gave him A Midsummer Night's Dream and Othello, and he took it home. This is a Friday afternoon. He comes in Monday, he goes, got any more? I said, did you read both of those over the weekend? He said, yes. It's like, wow. Yeah, let's go down to the library. We went down to the library, got the Riverside edition of the Complete Works of William Shakespeare. He took it home, and between then, which was around March or something, and the next fall, he read everything. And the next fall, I knew that he'd read everything because he got a job as a school custodian at our school, and he's still there. He's the head custodian of the school I used to work at now. And he's a dedicated, hardworking guy. But he read everything Shakespeare wrote, including Venus and Adonis, all the sonnets, all of the history plays, everything. And just because he loved it. He was an inspired Shakespeare reader. He's probably the only school custodian Shakespeare scholar I know. But anyway, so that's the motivation continuum. Now, I want you to personalize this a little bit. Here's me. This is me. I'm at the withdrawn or antagonistic end of the spectrum when it comes to learning hairstyling. What's the point? I'm sullen when it comes to paying income tax. I do it on the 15th of April. I don't pay $1 more than I have to. I'm compliant when it comes to attending my wife, Holly's, extended family's graduation parties. May comes around every year and we get invited to graduation parties. Some of the cousins she doesn't know, and some of the cousins I've never met. Why do we get invited to the graduation parties? To give money. So I can always think of something better to do on a Saturday afternoon in May or June than go to somebody's party in a backyard, drink some punch, and give them $100 or whatever. So I'll go, though. I will go just to avoid the grief. I'm dutiful when it comes to doing housework. I'm the bathroom guy. Because of my Army experience, when I was in the Army, I cleaned bathrooms for 3 years every morning. I can clean your bathroom in 17 minutes if you give me the right, Army clean, if you give me the right tools. But I won't. But I can. But I'm dutiful about it. I like a clean house. So I don't love doing it, but I'll do a clean house. I like a clean house. I'm enthused about writing proposals for national conferences. This year I got into the ASCD International Conference in San Antonio. There'll be about 16,000 educators there. Now, I don't like writing those proposals. They're boring. They're tedious. They ask the same question. You have to answer it 3 different ways. But I'm very enthused about doing a really good job at them because they get me in front of a national audience. It's usually somebody like Glenna will be there, and they'll hire me and then I get paid. That's good. So I'm enthused about that. I'm inspired by a bunch of stuff. I love to write my own material. I love running. I love my family time. I love reading. I love travel. I could probably list a lot of things I'm inspired by there. All right, the next good news. The good news is we can move people along the continuum. You can't make anybody any more than you can make them open their fist, but you can influence people to move actually either way on the continuum. But if we want to move kids up on the continuum, the number one thing that has to be in place, and this is research-based, and here's the documentation, is the relationship. The positive, trusting relationship has to be in place. Or the way DC and Ryan write it, the immediate interpersonal climate must be sufficiently supportive. Anyway, okay, now there's other stuff. And this is, again, research-based. These are the things that DC and Ryan have found are necessary just to keep people where they are on the continuum. Clear expectations, reasonable rules, fair consequences. See, those are kind of extrinsic, but you gotta have them. Just like society's gotta have laws and consequences, schools have to have rules. Reasonable, as few as possible, like in a democracy. We have as few rules, as few laws as we need to have a free society, but you gotta have them. Fair consequences and monitoring. You can't just assume that kids are gonna behave. All right. Now, there's things that we do and this is, again, research-based, that thwart people's needs and decrease motivation. So you can through our behavior, we can drive motivation right out of a kid. Punishment, criticism destroys motivation. Threats destroy motivation. Guilt destroys motivation. Anger and blame. But look, rewards and praise are up here. Rewards and praise, actually, and praise is a tough one. We've got to talk about that. But rewards actually decrease motivation because you're not doing it for the sake of it, you're doing it for the sake of something else. And the message is there must be something wrong with this if you have to give me that to do it. Now, praise is a hard one for me because I love saying to my son, my stepson, "You're awesome, I love you, you're a great kid." I love to do that. But the problem, the difference between praise and what I call informed positive feedback or just positive feedback is the purpose behind it. I'm not trying to manipulate him. I'm not saying, "I love you and you're a great kid," just to get him to do something. I'm doing it just because I want to. It feels good to me to say, give him some good feedback. The other difference between praise and informed positive feedback is praise generally tends to be very general. "Attaboy, good job." Where informed positive feedback is very specific. I like the way, or you used good concrete supporting details to support your topic sentence. Very specific. Or you sat with your feet on the floor, your hands to yourself the whole period today. Awesome. So, but the most important difference between informed positive feedback and praise is the purpose behind it. Is it to manipulate or is it to just educate, give feedback? Okay, the stuff that increases motivation, and you can probably see the tie to the needs, is the information we teach or the skills we teach have to be seen as useful. That's power. Positive relationships have to be there. Love and belonging. Empowerment, power. Choices, freedom. Fun, and informed positive feedback. So the more need satisfying we are, the more likely people will move up the continuum. Now, you probably won't get the antagonistic, withdrawn kid to be inspired right away, but you could get them to be sullen. More sullen kids. You know, but at least he's moving up. And maybe after a while the sullen will become the compliant. And the compliant could even get to be the dutiful. And eventually maybe you can get up to enthused or inspired. But it's by appealing to those needs, by building the relationship, that's going to do it.
In this video, you learned about the motivation continuum and how your knowledge of basic needs can help move students along the continuum towards more responsible behavior. The next video will begin with the workshop teachers participating in a line-up activity, followed by a discussion about how to make instruction appeal to students' needs.